The Chat Trap.
A very good morning to you. This is, of course, the Chat Trap on Relax Radio. How are you doing? Hope you are having yourself a beautiful Wednesday. It is the middle of the week, and I want to remind you that it's only 2 more days to go for the weekend. So, whatever you're going through, whatever you're feeling like, please remember to just hang in there because we are here giving you the best of conversation and making sure that you are as hyped up and inspired and informed as well. This is, of course, Relax Radio, and we want you to tune in. We want your opinions. We're going to be talking about a lot of interesting things, and we want to know what you are thinking. We want to know, how you're feeling. So go right ahead, leave a comment down below. Let me know how your day is going. Do you have any special plans for Wednesday? I, for one, know that I have a lot to give you, a lot of information to give you. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Now, if you're just tuning in, good morning, good morning, good morning out to you. It's such a pleasure to have you on board. Just before we go into the conversation, actually, I want to remind you to be a part of this journey with us. Now, you could do that by joining us on our journey by heading on over to our social media platforms. That is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. We're busting some moves on TikTok as well. So make sure that you go check us out. Make sure that you show us some love so that we can be a part of this journey together. Like I always say, what's most important to me is you. There's absolutely nothing more important to me than you, which is why I want to know exactly what you're thinking. I want to know if you're liking the kind of conversation we're having, and I just want to know what's on your mind. Use this platform to share with every single person out there your thoughts, your opinions. We have a lot of people listening in on different platforms. Actually, we have a few people listening in on our social media. We have people listening in on our app. So if you want to share your opinions with all of these people, you can use this platform and join the conversation live. Now, you can do that two ways. You could either call me on 07852473473, or you could just leave a comment down below. And if you do leave a comment down below, I will read that comment on you and we can have a conversation live, which is super interesting. Now, with that being said, just to start off, I want to give you kind of an update of what is happening around the UK and around the world with regards to the COVID situation. Now, apparently, I don't know if you knew this, but apparently the COVID death rate is 25% higher in Greater Manchester, according to a few reports. So, the Greater Manchester's COVID death rate has been 25% higher than the rest of England during the pandemic, according to new research, which I actually found very interesting. I did not expect it to, be the case, but that's exactly what is happening in England. And if you are living in the UK, I want to know how it's like in your area. Do you live in Greater Manchester? Do you feel like the impact of COVID was far worse to the Greater Manchester as opposed to the rest of UK? I want to know what you're thinking. But before that, I want to say a big hello going out to every single person that's tuning in. We got Sean and Patrick listening in. Patrick is a long name that I can't pronounce, but thank you so much for being a part of the show. We have Malia Kano listening in. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correct. But thank you so much for being a part of the show. It is definitely such a pleasure to have you on board. Now, with that being said, moving on into the conversation, according to this study, it shows that the impact of the virus in the Greater Manchester region, so the life expectancy in Northwest England declined more during 2020 than England overall, which I didn't really realize, but I guess that's the case, which is kind of scary. So if you are living in this area, make sure that you stay as safe as possible. Actually, if you're living around the world, just make sure that you doesn't matter where you're from, okay? I know that a lot of us are going back to our normal lives, but I think it's so important that we do whatever it takes to be as safe as possible, not just for our benefit, but for the benefit of everybody out there as well. So wear your mask, keep your hands sanitized, keep up your personal hygiene, because these are little things that we can do to stay as safe as possible. Now, I also wanted to get into a little bit of a, I would say, controversial conversation, and that's with regards to the vaccine. Okay, now I know that a lot of you, we kind of touched this topic a few days back, and I know for a fact that a lot of you have so many different opinions regarding the vaccine. Now, I for one, I have family living in Asia, I have family living in less developed countries, and I informed you that literally in countries in Asia, in South Asia to be specific, people would literally do absolutely anything to be able to get a vaccine. They would literally sell whatever they got. They would give an arm to be able to receive the COVID vaccine shot. Now, I compare that to, the more developed countries, even in the UK, where people don't essentially want the vaccine, where I myself know quite a lot of people that claim that they have done quite a lot of research, and they claim that the vaccine essentially is not a good thing. Now, what I want to do, first of all, I personally have my opinion, but I completely understand that you can have your own thoughts and your own opinions. But what I want you to do is to share it with me. Are you a person that declined the vaccine because you think it's not efficient, or are you somebody that supports the vaccine and got the shot yourself? I want to know what you think. Let's share it with everybody that's listening in, because that, I feel like, is a social responsibility. But I want to share with you a story that I found extremely interesting. Okay, now this story is with regards to this individual in the UK that declined the vaccine shot and is now regretting it. Okay, now again, this is again an article that I read from a credible source. It's not my opinion. I'm just sharing with you the different perspectives that are out there. So I just want to give you an idea of what other people think. And apparently, this vaccine refuser regrets turning down the jab after catching the virus. Now, a this individual lives in the UK, and his name is Fadil, if I'm not mistaken, and he is 60 years old, and he was taken to Bradford Royal Infirmary earlier this month because he was struggling to breathe as a result of COVID-19. Right now, the thing about it is that this father of two, now he released a statement, and I actually did watch it, and he says that his biggest regret in his life, and I quote, the biggest mistake of his life is actually declining the vaccine invite in February. Now he says, now he recently is struggling so much, he's struggling to breathe, and he says that, I'm quoting him yet again. He says it's the biggest mistake of his life that he refused or declined his vaccine invitation back in February, when a majority of the UK population was actually given the vaccine. Now, he goes on to thank the NHS staff for saving his life and urged other people to get vaccinated. He says that he completely understands being in that position. He understands being in that position of, not wanting the vaccine. And he says it was the biggest regret in his life and the biggest mistake in his life. And I'm quoting this man who is 60 years old. His name is Abdurrahman Fadil, and he lives in the UK, and he was taken to Bradford Royal Infirmary this month because he was struggling so much with the COVID vaccine. With the COVID the virus, and he said he could barely breathe, and if he had taken the vaccine, a lot of these symptoms would have been minimized. It's not about whether you get the virus or not post vaccine. It's about managing the symptoms, right? At least this is what I've heard from multiple sources. But I know that a lot of you out there have done your own research, and you say, or you claim, that getting the vaccine is actually inherently negative, or it has a lot more cons than it does pros. Okay, so basically, if you're just tuning in, what we've been talking about is the COVID-19 vaccine. And I know that there's a lot of different opinions out there. I know that a lot of you have your own personal, you've done your own personal research, and you have your own personal ideas regarding it. But I told you how a lot of people in lesser developed countries, I told you how I have family living in Asia, and they would absolutely do anything to be able to get a shot of the vaccine. And I also gave you an example, a story of a guy, he's 60 years old, and he lives in the UK, and how he claims that his biggest regret essentially is not getting the vaccine back in February. So these are essentially things that I did want to talk to you about. I have a lot more actually to share with you with regards to this. I want to know what you're thinking. Let me know, did you get your vaccine shot? Did you have any symptoms? Now, I myself, I haven't actually gotten my vaccine shot yet. I haven't got the COVID-19 vaccine, but my family did essentially get it. And for one thing that I realized is for a lot of the older people, so if you're 55, 60 or older, the vaccine would have very little side effects, as opposed to if you're younger, you might have quite a lot of effects, side effects like fever and just nausea in general. But I want to know what you went through. Did you get your vaccine shot? Did you feel okay post vaccine? Are you opposed to getting it? If so, why? Go ahead, share your opinions with me. The number to call me is 07852473473, or you can very well leave a comment down below. Please go ahead, hit on that like, because that would really help me quite a lot. We're just a startup, and for us, what we want to do is to keep you informed with regards to all of these stories and with regards to everything that's happening around the UK and around the world as well. So make sure that you hit that thumbs up, share this video so that your friends, your relatives, your Facebook friends, or, on whoever can actually see this video and gain some inspiration and information. I do have a lot more to talk about. I want to talk about how you can be as productive as possible. It's definitely one thing that I want to touch on. So if you just want some good conversation, if you want somebody to talk to, that is why I'm here. I'm here for you 24/7, 365. So make sure that you contact me, make sure that you connect with me. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Now, with that being said, we're going to head on off to a little break, but make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio.
One of the easiest ways to increase your net worth is to ensure that you have higher cash flows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to not buy things on hire purchase, not buy things over months and months because you can't afford them now, but you want it. It's kind of that delayed gratification. Rather than buy that couch, that car, that stereo, that computer, whatever item, and pay it off over 12, 24, 36 months at an interest rate, rather invest that money, make do with what you've got, and then after 12, 24, 36 months, take the money that you've now invested and buy that good. An asset could be anything that appreciates or reduces a tax bill. So it could still be a liability, but it reduces their tax bill. And I'm not going to go into the technicalities because that's out of our remit here. However, for our use or our purpose, what we are talking for the listeners here is I would put this definition of an asset forward. An asset is anything that increases your income. Anything.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK.
The Chat Trap.
Welcome back to the show. A very good morning to you. How are you doing? I want to say a big hello going out to every single one of you listening in. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. It's definitely such a pleasure to see so many of you tuning in, so many of you listening in. And I want to say, I hope you have the most amazing day ahead. And I know it's not easy, especially when you got a lot going on in your life. It can be really hard to get back into the groove, especially with all of this COVID-19 drama, with everything that's happening around. It can be really hard to readjust. But I just want to say a big thank you going out to every single one of you listening in. We have a couple of people listening in. That is Patrick, as always, is always tuning in. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. He says that he likes the conversation. Well, Patrick, we love having you on board. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's definitely such a pleasure to have you on board. We have Mia saying, I like relaxed radio. Well, guess what, Muzahid Mia? We love having you on board. So thank you so much for being a part of the show. It's definitely amazing for me to have all of you tuning in and have all of you listening in. Now, if you're just tuning in earlier on, we were talking about something very interesting, and I want you to wait for a second because I want your opinion. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know how what your perspective is, okay? We were talking about the COVID-19 vaccine, and I told you how a lot of people have different opinions with regards to the vaccine. Now, when I did have this conversation a few days back or a few weeks back, I had one gentleman talk to me, and he had a great conversation with me, and he said how he personally chooses not to get the COVID-19 vaccine because he believes that it does more harm than good, right? And he believes that a lot of people have lost their life according to his personal research, and he said that which is why he doesn't get the vaccine. But I also want to show you the opposite side of the spectrum. At least I want to show you that there is different opinions out there, and at the end of the day, I told you how if you live in the UK or if you live in a more developed part of the world, the vaccine is something that you're freely given access to. You don't have to go through so much to get a vaccine. But that's not the case in so many other countries, in Africa, in Asia. I told you how I have family in Asia and how they would absolutely do anything to get a shot of the vaccine. But I know so many people in developed countries that kind of refuse the vaccine. But I also shared with you this story of a gentleman that shared his story, who was an avid refuser of the COVID-19 vaccine, and he said that he completely denied it. He said he didn't want it whatsoever, but having gotten COVID this past month and having not been able to breathe whatsoever, he said that his biggest regret is that he wasn't able to essentially, he wasn't able to get the vaccine back in February. He said that it's his biggest mistake, it's his biggest regret, because he almost lost his life, and he has children, he has 2 children, and he said that it was definitely something that he regrets the most. So that essentially is a different opinion that is out there. But in general, I want to know what you think. What about the COVID-19 vaccine? Do you refuse it, or are you for it? I would really, really like to know your thoughts and your opinions. Now, with that being said, moving on to this whole COVID-19 conversation, apparently if you live in Scotland, there is some good news, because there is no more restrictions despite the surge of COVID-19 cases. There will be no more restrictions in Scotland. So the Health Secretary, Humza Yusuf, in Scotland has said that there are no further restrictions no further restrictions are planned for Scotland despite an ongoing surge in COVID cases. So Mr. Yusuf told BBC that he did not believe the cases would reach 100,000 per week, which is a prediction modeled by scientists in like a worst case scenario. So about 3,285 people tested positive on Monday, which is a new record high in Scotland. But despite all of this, Scotland said that no further restrictions are planned despite this new record high of cases that are showing up in Scotland. So that's very interesting. I want to know what you think, because in my opinion, I don't know. I have a very, very strong opinion about it. I believe it sucks, especially in the UK when they delayed the restriction easing or the lockdown easing. It was so annoying, and it was definitely one of the most horrible things that I had to go through because we had so many plans to travel, to go for music festivals, but all of that went down the drain when our Prime Minister Boris Johnson actually said that, he's going to delay the lockdown easing. But I've come to realize that at the end of the day, it's for the best of us. It's for the betterment of each of us that these lockdowns are put, the restrictions are put in place. It's for the betterment of our society. It's so that more people don't die. It's so that we can contain the situation, no matter how horrible it is. So I guess at the end of the day, there's two sides to the story, and I definitely want to know what you think of this whole situation. Do you think that governments need to keep imposing lockdown, or do you just think, just go with the flow? We need people to go back to work. We need people to get back to their normal lives, and it's a risk worth taking. Where do you stand? What is your opinion? I definitely would love to hear. So make sure that you go ahead and let me know. Call me up on 07852473473, or you could very simply connect with me on our social media. That is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. We go as Relax Radio, and we are there for you 24/7/365. And I definitely want to hear your opinions. I definitely want to know what you think. So go right ahead and let me know. Now, with that being said, I also want to talk about for a second. Let me see. I want to talk about the travel restriction, the green list rather. So basically, Malta, Madeira, Balearic Island is on the green list of the UK travel, UK travel green list. They are also joined by a number of UK overseas territories, including the Caribbean islands, including Bermuda and the Cayman Islands, Antigua, Barbuda, Dominica, Barbados, and Grenada. These are all, countries or territories that have been added to the UK's travel green list. So I guess the change means that holidaymakers will no longer have to self-isolate on their return to the UK from these areas. So if you're living in any of these areas, that's Malta, Madeira, Balearic Islands, Bermuda, Cayman Islands, Antigua, Barbuda, Dominica, Barbados, Grenada, and also the Caribbean islands. If you're living in any of these areas, when you come back to the UK, you would not have to self-isolate, and because they've been added to the UK's green list. So that's definitely some good news. It kind of gives us an idea that everything's going back to normal. But if conditions change in any of these countries, they are at risk of being moved back into the amber or to the red list. Now, Israel has definitely been moved to the watch list, which means if you're coming from Israel, it's still, or if you're coming to the UK from Israel, or if you're going there, you might have to self-isolate. Now, apart from that, actually, like I said, Malta, Madeira, Balearic Islands are among the destinations added to the travel green list. But what are the latest changes and the watch list? According to the government's green list, it includes a lot of islands. However, these additions will be on the green watch list, which means that if there's any changes, like I said before, if there is absolutely any changes in the COVID-19 cases, then they will be moved back into the amber or red list. Now, the government says that people should take extra consideration when booking holidays to these destinations. Okay, so just because they're added to the green list doesn't mean that you're completely out of risk. If there's a sudden change in conditions, a country or a territory may be moved between lists without warning. So if you are somebody that is looking to travel to areas like Malta, Madeira, and all the countries that I told you, know that even though they're currently on the green list, they may be moved back into it may be moved back into the green to the amber or red list, which means that you won't be able to travel back to the UK, or even if you do, you might have to self-isolate. So make sure that you remember these things if you're putting your travel plans in place. Additionally, 6 nations have been added to the red list. That's the Dominican Republic, Eritrea, Haiti, Mongolia, Tunisia, Uganda. These countries are in Africa. So these countries have been added to the red list for UK. So make sure that make sure that you take a COVID-19 test before if you're returning from a green list country. At least the government reminds you that you should take a COVID-19 test before departure and have proof of a negative result. You need to book a test a day or two after your return, and you need to complete this thing called a passenger locator form. So these are basically the rules for green list countries. Like I said, a lot of countries have been added to the green list, including Malta, Madeira, Balearics, and also some UK overseas territories, including the Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, Antigua, Barbuda, if I'm not mistaken, Dominica, Barbados, and Grenada are a few territories that have been added to the UK green list. But I also told you that, remember, if you're planning on visiting any of these islands or territories, just do remember that if there's a change in the condition, they could be added to the red list, which kind of leaves you in a very tough position. So remember all of this before you make your travel plans. Go through a comprehensive guide of the rules if you're entering green list countries or amber list countries. I just want to be, I want you to be as prepared as possible. I know it's amazing to get back to travel again, but it's also important to be as safe, not just with regards to COVID, but with regards to the whole travel situation. You need to be as safe as possible. So make sure that you kind of update yourself with all of these situations. With that being said, actually, we have a lot more to discuss. We have a lot more to talk about. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio.
One of the easiest ways to increase your net worth is to ensure that you have higher cash flows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to not buy things on hire purchase, not buy things over months and months because you can't afford them now, but you want it. It's kind of that delayed gratification. Rather than buy that couch, that car, that stereo, that computer, whatever item, and pay it off over